just to let you know.
Oh,
And we are live. Welcome to day 3. A little bit early, and we're ready to rock and roll. We're waiting for one or two of our clients still to log in. But I can see that on some of the other platforms, some of our clients have already joined. So I'm looking forward to welcoming everybody on board. Looking forward at getting into what we started and couldn't get through in our jam-packed session last night. It's one of those things that we get carried away with, don't you think, Nigel?
yeah. I mean, the couple of feedbacks we got were, went on too long on a couple of points, and I think that's enthusiasm rather than anything else. But like you say, there's so much to share, and sometimes we can just delve into the depth too much. So we're trying to give you an overall perspective tonight, so that you can use those points to go into the detail. And I probably spent too long on that already.
So let me get my my screen up. Let me get my share going. Welcome to the 3 that have just signed in on our platform. Let's find our window here quickly. There we go. Nigel, can you see my screen?
Got it.
Great. So let's get into a little bit of a recap. Just mastery. Mastery is all around the 2 ingredients, or the 4 ingredients, being destination mastery, money mastery, time mastery, and delivery, to create stability and eliminate chaos within the business. Niche is all around predictable cash flow. Okay, how do we ensure that we can bring in the money that we need, firstly, to cover our costs, and bring in the money that we've set as a profit goal within our business. So the next one that we work on is leverage. And now I'm just going to dive straight in. If you don't mind, I'll leave team over to you. So leverage. Thank you. So leverage is all about systemization. And systemization is a really interesting part of running a business, because what you intend to do is take you as the business owner out of the day-to-day grindings of every day and let systems take over. So if you can systemize the routine and humanize the difference, you should start gaining more and more time within your business. Okay, so there's two main examples of leverage within a business. Nigel, you want to have a guess what those 2 things are?
Guess.
Yeah.
Systems.
Absolutely. And the second one, I'll help you with,
because you said there were 2. I have a couple more, but yeah, go on. What's your second one?
The 2 main ones. So my second one that I was looking at is hiring a first person. So as soon as you've hired somebody, yeah. So when you hire somebody, you've effectively bought yourself 50 hours. But putting a system in place, you could effectively buy yourself 100 hours. Okay. So what are the 9 steps to systemizing your business? Okay. So the first step is getting buy-in to the company vision statement. Do you have an effective, engaging vision statement that makes sense to the company, sense to the industry that you're in, and resonates with your team, yourself as the business owner or senior manager, and your client base? So if they understand the vision, they're more engaged. That's so the theory goes. And once you have that, what is the mission on how you're going to reach there? What do you need to do so that we're going to reach the pinnacle of Mount Everest, as we spoke about last night? Okay, and in that, we can start rebuilding the company culture if you've got a culture of aggression. And quite often, on some of the larger clients that I've been dealing with, the culture within the business is not a culture of growth. It's a culture of stagnation. It's a culture of who can I stab in the back? It's a culture of who can I stand on so that I can get above everybody else. And moving away from the I in that kind of a culture into how do we, us, etc. Nigel, have you ever had a client where you've had to get in and the first thing you have to fix is the culture within the business?
Very much so. I mean, toxicity, I think, was a good word describing what you were talking about there.
Yeah.
And it just takes one or two toxic people in an organization who are quite influential, and it can affect the culture in the whole business.
Yeah.
And these things get embedded over time. So, like you said, trying to unravel it is quite difficult. It's best to nip it in the bud and get it right from the beginning with a clear vision statement.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that is quite interesting to remember is that large corporations spend a lot of money in making sure the culture within the business is exactly the way they want it. In my training, I think you went there as well. Unfortunately, last year or earlier this year, the owner was killed in a fire. That's Zago Shoes, right?
Zappos.
Sorry, excuse me, Zappos Shoes. It's been a long day. So Zappos Shoes. So what they have done for their team is they invested in an aquarium room that was a quiet space for you to go and just have a 15-20 minute power nap. Half an hour, I think an hour max is what they're allowed in there. But you could go and have an hour power nap to refresh and be ready so that you can go back to your desk and be the best version of you for the business. So companies spend a lot of money on culture, on looking after their teams, and you could actually build something that is really interesting, really fun, and a great growth environment without spending large amounts of money, but knowing what to do and using your coach to understand the nuances in building that culture. Okay, so part of the 9 steps to systemization is building those SMARTY goals for the entire team. Understanding that, hey, I'm the cleaner, but I have a direct result in how the company performs. I have a direct result. I play my little part in this company building to what the business owner wants. And if I, as cleaner, buy into the vision, I'm more inclined to look better, be engaging to clients that maybe maybe walk into the building and I'm the first representative that is seen within the business. Doesn't matter if I'm the cleaner, if I'm the CEO, I'm still a representative of this company. Ever come across something like that, Nigel, where the cleaner is so disengaged in what's happening within the business that they actually, the first person that sees this cleaner, and they actually detract from the whole experience of dealing with that company?
Yeah, I mean, that mantle usually falls with the receptionist, I guess, generally. And yeah, I mean, that's your first impression. That impression lasts for forever. So if they're not like living and breathing a positive culture around the business, you're on the back foot from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. So fixing the small things can actually lead to fixing the bigger things. How did they fix the crime problem to an extent in New York? Start being harder and harder on the smaller crimes, on the smaller misdemeanors as such, even things like walking on the road. There's a heavy penalty for jaywalking in New York. It's how they started getting control of the bigger problems within that city. Very interesting book. I read it some years ago on how they got hold of or how they got on top of the crime problem in New York. But it's no different to getting hold of the culture problem or the lack of sales problem or whatever the problem might be within the business. Okay, so getting an understanding of that, very big thing within the coaching process is writing down and understanding the organogram or the organizational chart. And most people think, well, putting an organizational chart together is just a snapshot in the business. And the organizational chart is so much more than that. It's the mind mapping of how we're going to grow this business, how we're going to have a role shuffle if we need to, how we're going to understand each and every cog within the business so that it works properly and that it's running at its maximum capacity. And quite often when you do the organogram, you find that, hey, staff member A is working from 8 o'clock until 9, 10 o'clock at night, and they're not getting to everything. But there's somebody in almost the exact same role that is getting there at 9 o'clock and leaving at 3 o'clock and he's bored because it's not in their job description. So that leads me to the next part of the organogram is building the shuttered layers behind each of those boxes that make up the company's organogram. Okay, so what is the role, the responsibility? What are you expecting of that staff member when you get there at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock, whenever your start time is, or up until 5 o'clock or whenever knockoff time is? What do you expect them to do? What do you expect them to achieve? And building a default diary, that's the time schedule of what you're expecting that person to do. So the homework that I'm going to give, or the takeaway that I'm going to ask you to do is build an organogram. But in an organogram, understand the roles of each and every box, and never build a organogram around people. Always build it around the requirement for the business. Because if that person leaves, they're not replaceable. But if you understand that, hey, this is what this role entails, you put the person to the box, the person leaves, it's very easy to replace them. And it's also then easy to build the recruitment system. So once you understand that, and I need to stop myself there so that I don't go into too great a detail right now, because we'll be then till 11 o'clock. But from that, we can build effective key performance indicators or KPIs around what you're expecting. Okay, so I'm doing task A, B, C. Great. What are the KPIs around my task of A, B, C? And from that, we can start building effective quarterly, let's call them quarterly rewards programs for the staff. Okay. So biggest problem that I'm dealing with at the moment in the situation that I'm in with a family member's business is the how-to manuals. From the business owner, CEO, MD, whoever's at the top of that ladder, all the way down. What are the things that you need to do from 8 o'clock in the morning? How do you do them? What is the role procedure? What is everything that's got to happen from the top all the way down to the bottom? What do you expect to be done? Because if you build that, you actually start building the tangible, saleable business. You know, Nigel, have you ever had the situation where a business was valued at a certain amount? They walked away because they weren't happy with the amount taken on a coach. We've put all these kind of things in place. They get the business revalued, and the value of that business is maybe doubled, tripled sometimes, or maybe even quadrupled.
I've never had quadrupled, but it sounds good. And yeah, I think focusing on the focusing on the value, and again, it's all down to what the vision and what's the end goal. If you're focusing on this, and like you said earlier, chipping away at the little things, and all of that creates great value. Like New York, one of the safest cities around these days, from being an absolute epicenter of violent crime
and gangsterism. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the last little thing, the last step in systemizing the business is the management systems. What are you putting in place to manage the menial tasks within the business? Maybe CRM systems. Maybe it's the booking systems. Maybe it's there's so many different systems that you could replace staff members with, expensive staff members with a system that could cost just about nothing. Okay. So what we have right here, when we've got these three blocks sorted out, we have efficiency within the business. We have a full understanding of how to market this business, because we have mastery of those 4 ingredients of this layered cake, and we can build the structure. It's getting stronger and stronger as we go along. So what we have here is Action Coach's definition, or the start of an Action Coach's definition to a successful business. And that is a commercial. Maybe you should write this down, because there's actually a lot of hidden meaning behind this phrase. We have a commercial, profitable enterprise that works. These 3 layers give you those exact things. Okay, commercial, mastery. Profitable, the stability around that and understanding your niche and your predictable cash flow. Business that works. That's the leverage layer. And Nigel is now going to talk about team that allows you to have that commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. It's amazing how all these business philosophies start tying into these 6 steps.
I just wanted to jump on a couple of points that you brought up there, Brendan. One of the questions I get asked around the organizational chart is, I'm just a one-man band. I mean, that's it. That's my organizational chart. It's me, And I think it's visioning the business where it is now, but like you said, putting all those jobs titles that you would expect to have when the business is grown to a bigger level. So an HR manager, finance manager, marketing manager, whatever, because you're doing all those things now. The small business owner is doing all those things, wearing all those hats, and then prioritizing and saying, which is the most important one to fill first? And then in time, like you said, leverage, bringing on that first person. So that's a question I get asked a lot. And then the other thing, your reference to Zappos reminded me of my trip there. I mean, it's wacky. It's the extreme. I mean, makes Google look like a government organization.
Office in the old prison of Las Vegas.
With crazy dogs walking around with security tags on because they have to get clear. And but it's an incredible culture, and I encourage everybody to look at just even read about it on Wikipedia, just to get an idea of what business culture can be. An extreme example of that. So thanks for that, Brendan.
Great. Let me hand team over to you. Oh, sorry, we've just got a question coming in here from Tim Anderson from Pretoria. Tim has asked 2 questions. So firstly, to repeat the definition of a successful business. Okay, so that is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. And his second question is, how do we build smart goals for the company? Okay, so that is quite a broad question. And that is something that potentially Nigel is going to address in team. Nigel, you want to have a go at answering that question?
Oh, thanks, Brendan. Talk about hospital pass.
Yes.
How do you create smart goals?
Yep.
So, well, I mean, the first thing is just understanding what SMART is. And I found this a lot in our planning sessions, our growth club, like the one we're having on the 12th of August.
Yeah.
That people don't really understand it properly. So specific, someone will say, I want to get fit, or, but how fit do you want to be? What level of fitness do you want to get to? That's not a business goal. Obviously, I'm just using it as an example. but it's really honing in the specificness and getting your whole team, which I'm going to talk about now, to understand each of those elements of the acronym to the nth degree. Because I think people just go, yeah, SMART goal, yeah, I need to, and they don't really analyze each element of it. And specific, the starting point is really where it goes. You always like car analogies. So, I want a BMW. Yeah. What model? What color? Engine size. Really drilling down into the SMART element of it. We haven't got time to cover every part of that, but if Tim wants to get in touch later, we can have a bit of a chat around that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nigel.
So on the team, yes. So like Brendan said, commercial, profitable enterprise or business that works without you. So how do you get it to work without you? Well, it's pretty obvious, right? You've got to have the right people around you. Richard Branson, and better people. I think that's one thing that small business owners really struggle with, is they want to employ people and to take away some of the menial tasks. But if you want to grow a really successful business, you need to be employing the best, the cream of the crop. And they're going to know more about marketing than you do, more about HR, way more. You're the leader, you're the guy who's got the vision, and you're going to get everybody to buy into that. But you're the leader, get the really smart people around you, and your business will accelerate at a huge rate, exponential, compared to getting in the cheapest people or somebody's friend's friend who needed a job this week. And you find out that you're spending most of your time managing them because they don't come in on Mondays and Fridays. So let's look at team, having the right people on the bus. And how do you get the right people? And Action Coach has actually got a really good recruitment system. So recruitment is a key element to this. It's called the 4-hour recruitment system. It's probably a bit longer than that, but I haven't got time to go into all the details. But it involves a process of elimination. So rather than you going through 150 CVs and saying, right, this guy looks brilliant, or this girl looks brilliant, because CVs can be a bit of an exaggeration of the truth, in my experience. So you try and get people to eliminate themselves first, and then you end up with a short list of people, and you haven't even read a CV yet, who you then put in a room together, and you do a group interview, and you can see how those people react with each other. You can then explain to them about the business, but you're leveraging your time here. So completely reversing the traditional way of recruiting. So that's one of the keys. How do you get successful people on board? The other one is having a winning team. So many businesses I go into really struggle with motivating, getting the team to actually do what they want to do. And the first step is obviously having a common goal. What's in it for them? So your goal could be for the business to make 100,000 Rand profit a month. Why should your operations manager have that goal? So you've got to get a common goal between all the members of the team, and the team will be well structured through the organizational chart that you've developed as part of the leverage element of this process. And you've got to get a buy-in from everybody, so everybody's working in the same direction. So 6 keys to a winning team. 1, common goal. you've got to be a strong leadership, like I said just a few minutes ago. The leadership has got to be strong. And this obviously filters down. The bigger your business gets, this applies to a department in your business or a different division of your business. But somewhere you've got to have a strong leadership. In this instance, we'll just say it to you. So you're the strong leader. You've got a common goal for your team. So we're all pushing in the right direction or pulling. But you have to have some rules to the game. You know, imagine if you go into a rugby match and there were no rules, people would be running up and down, throwing the ball around, being offside all the time. It would be chaos. So people have to understand what the rules are, and you have to have those documented and understood. So often, you know, we punish or put people into disciplinary hearings for not doing something that they should have done, and they didn't know that that was the case.
Yeah,
which sort of throws the thing out. Yeah. So make it very clear. Again, you know, it all ties into what Brendan was saying about how-to manuals as well, having a employee handbook so people know the rules of the game. That'd be a great example of rules, an employee handbook. Action plan. So we're all sitting around, we've got a common goal, we've got a strong leader, and we know what the rules are, but where are we going? You know, we need to have a plan. We talked about it a lot yesterday, budgets and all those sort of things, vision, direction, destination. All those things are, what is the plan that we've got in order to achieve our goals, the common goal? Then the next thing is supporting risk-taking. So one of the things that is very common in small, medium businesses is the owner or even the manager, for various reasons, doesn't like to give responsibility to an individual in the team because he's worried that they're going to mess it up. So supporting risk-taking is giving them responsibility and letting them fail, you know, fail first and they'll get better. But it's a very difficult thing to do, probably one of the most difficult in this 6 keys, is to actually support risk-taking, allowing people to take on responsibility. Once you do that, you generally see a huge change. And like Brendan was talking about earlier, toxicity, once you start, you can actually eliminate a lot of toxicity in the culture by giving people more responsibility. And then the last thing is 100% involvement. There's nothing worse than you've got a team of 10 people and there's 2 or 3 people sitting in a room behind a glass thing and they're all chatting away. And the other 7 members of the team are wondering what on earth they're talking about, and they come out and they don't share it with you. So again, you know, this is communication and involvement. Communication isn't actually on this list, but it's a part of this. You have to communicate with your team regularly so they know what is going on. They feel involved. That, you know, when you get a sale with a big customer, that everybody in the whole team, whether they're sales related or not, is aware of it. That makes a huge impact, again, on building culture. You see how all these things are linked in together. So a lot of the things that Brendan was talking around culture and organizational chart are actually part of this, creating a great team. That's it. The other thing is understanding, or the last thing is understanding the personalities of people. People have different personalities, and there are a myriad of different personality profiling tools. We use DISC: dominant, influence, steady, and conscientious. The 4 different personality profiles that we use. And if you've got all the same type of personalities in one team, it's going to be imbalanced and it's not going to work very well. So it's worth now, and also different jobs and different tasks require different personalities. So
also we find that the mix of people in a business is really important. Sorry to just dive in there, Naj. I think it's such a valid point to understand that quite often, if a business owner is a high S, he ends up hiring high S people.
Yes.
And it can become a really big problem when you've got a business of 40 people and they're all high S's. Where's the yang? You need the yin and yang in your sales team. Yep.
So often, like you say, I mean, we use acronyms a heck of a lot. It can be quite irritating. But an accountant will typically be a high C, a conscientious and compliant person. But you need that sort of person who sits in the back office. Your sales guy is going to be probably high D and high I, so they're quite dominant and forceful, and influential at the same time, charming, love socializing. And then you've got steady people engineers, who might be quite empathetic, people who are just quite passive. And you got a good mix, then you're going to have a good team. But you need to understand those. And you've done a lot of work with teams, Brendan. Do you profile all your clients' teams with DISC?
So if the yes is the short answer, the long answer is that quite often once you really get used to DISC, because it's such a user-friendly, it's not overcomplicated like some of the others are. It's so easy to ask one or two things and understand who somebody is. The more you use it, the easier and easier DISC gets to understand. So there's a number of questions that you can ask a team without having to go through the full profile and understanding what it is.
Yeah.
To tell you that every single one of my clients at some point goes through a DISC sort of assessment, absolutely yes.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. You can pick up very quickly in a team where you've got three of very similar personalities, and that is detrimental to the workings of the team. So That's it, team. So commercial, profitable enterprise that works, leverage without you, team. If your team's working 100%, then it's working without you. But there's another level. Over to you, Brendan.
Yeah, so synergy and I suppose the last one are really quick. The interesting thing about synergy is we make sure that this business is working like a well-oiled machine. We need things to work properly. And quite often the things that you did all the way down at the very beginning are now starting to become clumsy, or we need to start getting go from the free version or the base version sometimes to the bigger version, because now we're getting bigger, or now we're having to process more, or we're a one-man business or a one-lady business, and we need to make sure that things work effectively, so we don't have to unnecessarily hire somebody that could be more expensive. I like the analogy because it shows the growth in technology of a business owner starting everything on Excel and doing everything on Excel and moving to more proficient systems that can do things quicker, more effectively, etc. So even though Excel is really, really capable, there are some things that are a whole lot easier to build and maintain and look after and let things run in the background. So the other thing around synergy is just understanding the business, having a look at things, being the strong leader that you were going to earlier, and sometimes it's a courage thing to go to a team and say, yes, this worked 5 years ago, but it's not working now. What are we going to do so we can change it? And you see that arrow that says general manager. Sometimes that is general management that needs to come into place to make this business stronger and have this thing run like a well-oiled machine. And yeah, then we move over to results. Nigel?
Yeah, so once you've achieved all that, and synergy also, if you've got more than one site or whatever, you're going to need to put someone on top of the whole thing that isn't you. So then you've got a business that's running smoothly and it's delivering profit. You've got to then really decide, am I going to step back, or you can stay involved in the business, but you don't have to. That is the key. You don't have to be in the business. You might want to be, or you can sell it. You know, we always use the selling idea because it keeps us on point with what is the value of this business. And the business will have very little value if you're involved 100%. So that is the key to this whole thing. And then you could just sort of not sell it if you've got a great general manager running it and end up living off the profits.
Absolutely. You know, the two that you were alluding to and we were discussing yesterday, Nigel, is, you know, handing to a family member, a kid, or franchising.
Yeah. Franchising is something we haven't talked about.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of fun actually helping clients set up franchises. I'm busy with 2 at the moment, helping them take their business, a really, really good business, and franchising it, and ensuring that their franchisees enjoy the business as much as what they do, and making sure that they make as much money as what the franchisors do as well.
Excellent. So that's it. 6 steps to massive results. So Brendan, you're going to introduce us to the, that should have come earlier. It's one of my favorite quotes. It picks up on a couple of things that Brendan and I were talking about around employee engagement and toxicity in the culture. Yep. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it does. So Tom Peters says, most employees are motivated, energetic, committed, enthusiastic, and loyal, except for the 8 hours that they work for you. Okay, he has a whole lot of perlers like this. So this makes me giggle absolutely every time I see it. Right. So one of the things that comes into play is once we understand these six steps, I'm battling to talk tonight, we may have to go back and fix the base. We may have to go even before we start with mastery and fix the base of where we're working from. Fix maybe mistakes that accountants have made. Fix things that the business owner didn't know before and it set up incorrectly, or somebody that had worked there before, etc. Before we can move forward. Nige?
Yeah.
So the Action Coach 5-way system that we've been talking about for the last 2 nights, it is really a powerful tool that works when you know how to fill it out and how to make it work for you. Okay, so most business know at the end of the month how many customers they have, how many have bought from us, how many are happy, how many are unhappy. You know, they have a basic understanding of their customers. They know what their turnover is. They maybe even know what their break-evens are. They may even know how much profit they make. But there's a fundamental problem with knowing these things only once a month. There's a fundamental problem, bigger, that if you only know about it once a year, because that's when your accountant gives you those management accounts. And sometimes knowing these things at the end of the month or end of the quarter or end of the year is just the result. There's no way of, let's use the word, pivoting your business, correcting mistakes, correcting problems, knowing what to do as we're going through, because we're just dealing with results. And sometimes the results that we're getting, like you said last night, Nigel, are 2, 3, 4 months old. It's too late then.
Yeah.
So this is where this whole system, this whole masterclass really, really starts getting exciting. And before I spoil it for Nigel, I'm going to get Nigel to start talking about the 5 ways.
Okay. Sorry, Brendan, I thought you were going to use your chassis analysis, but the R8 and the whatever, well, yeah, the Audi and the Golf, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a fundamental thing that you can use to test and measure your business and really start to improve your profits. So as Brendan said, you see the things in red are all the outcomes or the results of the things in blue. And the things in blue are the 5 ways that we're referring to. So understanding these and getting good at these, mastering these, if you will, is going to really catapult your business. And depending on your business, always put in this caveat. All businesses are different. Some businesses are really complex. They have different divisions and different products that have very different margins, for example. And so it's not a copy and paste thing. It takes some analysis, and a lot of our clients really struggle to get this. But if you get it right, it's extremely powerful. So let's look at these and put some numbers in. The 5 ways. First one is number of leads. So let's assume that you're getting 4,000 leads. Again, just, this might be a retail business or a shop, something like that. Some businesses will get 10 leads a month. In our business, 20 or 30 leads a month is great news. So it depends on everybody else. But the key thing is, out of those leads you're getting, what's your conversion rate? How many of those are you actually converting into the result, which is customers? So in this case, we're saying it's 25,000. So you're getting 4,000 leads in a month. You've got a 25% conversion rate. Again, that goes from, I think, Brendan, you said yesterday, 0.027 or something conversion rate. Some guys in our business are getting 80% conversion rates. Again, different businesses. So don't worry about those. These aren't targets. These are just an example. So now you've got your number of customers. What's key about customers? Delivery mastery that Brendan talked about yesterday. It's getting people to come back. In fact, it's not even described as a customer until they make their second transaction. So how many transactions are customers making with you every week, month, year? Depends. But know that number. In this case, we're using 2. So let's say this is a month. This is what we're working on. They're doing 2 transactions a month. So like me, Woolworths, I'll probably do 2 transactions a month at Woolworths. Average rand sale. So every time I go into Woolworths, how much am I spending? Hopefully a little bit more each time. And you're going to introduce things that will entice me, like those aisles they put in front of the tills. When you're standing waiting around being really frustrated, you probably spend another 100 rand on peanuts or, delicious health bars. So
chocolates.
How much? Yeah. How much am I spending each time I'm there? So I've got the customers buying twice a month, and every time he's buying, he's spending on average, not every time, 100 rand. So I've got 1,000 customers doing that. So I'm making 200,000 rand revenue. My profit margin on all these products on average is 25%. So I'm making a profit of 50,000 rand a month. Okay. So what Brendan talked about a lot was making those incremental changes, small changes to a lot of things. So in this case, we're going to make some changes to these 5 elements of the 5 ways. So, thank you. If we just increase each one by 10%. A lot of people think, well, okay, my profit will increase by 10%. I'll make 55,000 Rand profit. Okay, so number of leads goes up from 4,000 to 4,400. Conversion rate will go up to 27.5%. So now you're going to have 1,210 customers. Now, if you can get them to buy, on average, just a little bit more, they're going to buy 2.2 times in a month. And their average sale will go up to 110. I hope my mental arithmetic's good here. Because I'm behind the curve. So up goes my revenue by 292,000.
Almost 100,000 Rand increase just by making these small changes, all these tiny little changes. No golden ticket, but this is as close as you're going to get to a golden ticket to increasing things within your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And 10% is quite, it's quite significant, but 5% would be good. But it's the point of looking at all these things and trying to improve everything. Profit margins. How do I get my profit margins up? I can stop discounting, as mentioned yesterday. Reduce costs, get better supplier rates, etc., etc. Lots and lots of things you can do in getting your profit margin up. And if I do that, it's 27.5%, which gives me a profit of 80,000, 525,000 compared to 50, which is a 61% increase in profit.
Which 41% increase in turnover. It's amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing, and it's so exciting. And for me, what really makes it this whole business work for me is that when I see clients do this within their business, and that excitement of how that happens and how they start looking for the next goal. Wow, I've done this for 10% and I've got 30,000 Rand more to spend every month on myself or on something or on a system or on another staff member or something like that. It's such an amazing feeling for me, having a client see this and achieve this themselves within their business. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rather than someone saying, "Oh, it's too difficult."
Yeah, absolutely.
When the light goes on, Brendan.
Yeah.
And actually this thing, it works.
Yeah. So Nigel, you might not have seen this. It was added in last minute. Purely because I have 3 clients that have had 100% increase in business during hard lockdown over the last year. And in fact, I had one that their numbers came in audited at the end of last month, and they've got 150% increase in business in probably one of the hardest years in business history, using this system. So Nigel, if you don't mind, I'd like to just go through what this business model would look like with 100% increase in business. So if things like a gun licensing company, if businesses like a dog walking company, like an environmental company, and a whole bunch others can have 100% increase in business, I know that you and I can do this for everybody that's on listening in tonight, and other businesses. So
cool.
if you don't mind, I'll run through this one. Yeah. So let's run through the numbers. It's done really, really quickly. So if we have a look, 100% increase in business around leads from 4,000 to 8,000, conversion rate 25% to 50%. We heard, Nigel was talking about an 80% increase or 80% conversion rate. So, that would have a knock-on effect all the way through. So that means that they're selling to 3,000 more people by intensifying what we're doing. So we move from a 10% to 100% increase in business. But it takes that 50,000 Rand profit business and turns it into a 1.6 million Rand business. And Nigel and I have both done it for various clients during hard lockdown at 100% increase in business. So I'm really excited about that. I think that's a massive achievement. It's no doubt to the efforts and the buy-in that clients and their team have to the coaching process.
Yeah, I just want to pick up again on what I picked up yesterday, Brendan. We didn't do it. The clients did it. But
yep.
we gave them the tools.
Yeah, it goes back to the things you have.
Yep.
Yep. They were committed.
Great stuff.
Right. So let me walk through a couple of roadmaps here, and this is the interesting thing. And I invite everybody to write this down, because this is the coaching process for a small business. This is the coaching process. This is how things work for businesses that are starting out in their coaching journey. Okay, this is how it works. So we start with a deep dive assessment. We start looking at the client's requirements. We start looking at the business owner. We do a thing called an alignment. That is traditionally a paid alignment, so that the client understands exactly where their needs are. There's a cost involved, because there's quite a bit of work for the coach to do, to have a look at the numbers, to understand what is required, and get the business owner to realize what is happening. Okay, give the financial understanding of what's happening. Okay, the SQ mix analysis, the profit gaps and opportunities. Maybe there's the low-hanging fruit that's there is just, hey, we haven't looked at our debtors book. One of the things that was a stark reminder for me is that when I first started with one of my clients, we got the debtors book from nearly 7 million down to about 150,000. And I didn't look at it for a couple of months, because we were busy with other things. And when I had a look at it, that debtors book was all the way up nearly at 5 million again. Okay, so what are the things that we need to put consistency in? What are the things that we need to remind ourselves time and time again that, yes, we've done it once, we've reduced debtors book, but now we've got to go and do it again. Okay, because we haven't put these things in place. Okay, the fundamental thing, and Nigel raised the point all the way back in day one, in the beginning of our coaching process, Nigel and I are focused on finding our fee within your business. Whether you're a startup, whether you're a long-standing business, we will find a fee, and we have things in place that we can do that. And then what Nigel was talking about tonight, the disc profiling, VAC, which is the learning style. People are normally one of the three, which is visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. And what amazed me, talking to my 13-year-old son in grade 8, they're being taught disc and VAC in schools, which is amazing for me, because it is such a valuable life skill tool. So the next part that we work on, and once we understand this, we start moving into the execution plan. We start moving into getting these things starting to work in the business, the business mastery. If we need be a forensic audit, a complete deep dive. It's not necessarily a bad thing, a forensic audit, but a deep dive and deep understanding into the business from a numbers point of view. Okay, what is the strategy that we need to start building? Knowing that. Okay, what is the goal planning and setting, the business leverage, what you're talking about, what I was talking about? How do we systemize this business? Roles and accountability, time alignment, milestone attainment, timeline setting. What are the things that we've got to do to make sure that the business gets what it needs when it needs it, so that the clients get what they need when they need it? Okay, what is the continuous improvement? From that, what is the value stream mapping to identify constraints within the business? Where are the bottlenecks? Okay, the people in education. Maybe the problem in the business all along is that the people don't know how to use these tools that they have. Or maybe it's a simple thing like going on on one of our group coaching programs with your whole team, because fundamentally the penny dropped for the whole team. The team then become a team full of team players, if that makes sense. Okay, so that they're all striving for the same thing. So we then put effective financial management tools in place. We have weekly or monthly management meetings. We evaluate demand and supply planning, processes and systems, KPI planning, putting staff management in place, and it's just an ongoing process. This is the synergy part within the coaching process for a small SME success roadmap. This little roadmap is so powerful in building businesses. Unfortunately, for many business owners, a lot of these steps they never realized that they needed before. So I'll then move on to the corporate success roadmap. So David Westphal from Bloemfontein, while I was going through that, was asking, well, this is not going to work for my business because I'm a large corporate. Do you have something for a corporate? And yes, David, here it is on the screen. Okay, so what we do then is we do a discovery and an assessment. So we fund the goals and objectives of the business. We build the business model and growth plans. We dive deep. We go into great depth in finding what is needed at each department within the company, and we build the framework for growth. Okay, like we were talking about just now, is the culture in the business is quite often the thing that's strangling the business. Okay, we find the facts, we go in, we look at what we need to do. Okay, we look at the financial requirements of that business, and almost always in a corporate environment, in the corporate roadmap, we go in for the forensic audit. Okay, sometimes we only need to do a light dive. Sometimes we need to go in great depth so that we can do the things that we need to do. We then start strategic planning by department. We look at business mastery. So for a corporate business, mastery is a little bit more intense, okay? Because then we bring in, it's not only money mastery, it's financial mastery, okay? Because there's cash flow requirements, there's timelines around those cash flow requirements. There's the 5 ways mastery, understanding each and every bit of the 5 ways. And for some corporates and small businesses, that 5 ways can be expanded to all about 15, 20 ways and 20 things that we need to understand. Just as an example, there's a conversion rate between a customer and a client. Fundamental differences. Okay, most people didn't realize that before we start with them. Okay, we need the evaluation and feedback guidance. We need to understand how the clients value the business. Would they do business with them? What are their frustrations? Get in and understand that. Sometimes we need to go in and understand that, hey, our CEO is 80 and he needs to move out, and we've never understood his exit strategy. You know, what would we do if we have 100 staff members or 20 staff members in a corporate environment and the CEO gets COVID and is in hospital for 3 months? Okay, what's the contingency plan? Okay, sometimes we've got to go in and we've got to rebuild the business model. Big or small businesses, we've got to have a look at that business model. Maybe it's not effective enough, and there are things that we can do, that we can work through, they're going to help overall that business model for a more profit-centric business. Okay, so we need to look at other things like key individual strategy sessions. And from the strategy sessions, sometimes we find the knowledge gap. Remember, I was talking a little bit earlier about the DGLPA: dreams, goals, learn, plan, and act. Okay, we don't want to rehash the old the old over and over again. We need to have the new way of doing things. Then we finalize the plan. We start putting these things in place. Business leverage, there it is, like I was talking about earlier tonight. Systems and technology. We have another thing that we haven't even had too much time to talk around or label. We've been speaking about it, we haven't labeled. We have the 5 ways, and we have a thing called the 4 ways. And the 4 ways is all around delivery and distribution. Accounts, testing and measuring the accounts. Marketing, test and measure. How do we test and measure that our marketing is working? How do you understand that we spent 100 Rand in marketing and we need to bring at least 200 Rand in from that marketing? How have we bought our customers? Okay. The next thing is systems and technology. How do we put that in play? We were talking about that a little bit earlier tonight with understanding our organogram and our team evaluations. Okay. Maybe we need to educate our people. Maybe we need to bring more people in or shuffle people around. Okay. We need to understand things like teams, default diaries, their understanding that, hey, if I'm in a sales role, I need to sell a certain amount every single day to make sure that I'm bringing in 3 times what I'm costing the company, so that the company is profitable. Okay. Implementation. There we start doing team alignment days. Okay. So we bring in the entire team and we brainstorm what needs to happen in the company. Nigel, how much do you enjoy team alignments?
Oh, it's great. I mean, going back to the 6 keys that I just talked about earlier, is just seeing everybody coming out of there with more of a common goal and an action plan, and involvement, 100% involvement, and the business owners or the team managers feeling that they've got more of a sense of leadership. Yeah, works brilliantly.
Absolutely. I really enjoy those days, and I see businesses transform after one of those days, as long as the accountability is there long term after the day. Okay. And the things that I was talking about a little bit earlier, the 4 ways, so you can see them coming into play right here in implementation. Team accountability. The analogy that I used earlier. If the cleaner understands that he plays his part in the business being successful, if the accountant knows what their part is, the salespeople, the receptionist, the guy that's maybe operating the lift. I've seen that in very large businesses. They have somebody operating a lift. If he knows that he's key to that business being successful, and they have a share in that success by their bonus or whatever it might be, they're more inclined to be more engaged. And then the last thing that's not on here for both of them is constant and ever improvement within the business. Anything you'd like to add about these 2 roadmaps, Nigel?
I think you've covered everything in great detail and with great enthusiasm, Brendan.
Yeah, thank you. I get carried away because I just see how valuable understanding these 2 different roadmaps and how different businesses can be. Okay. So this guy, Jim Rohn, if nobody knows about him, I would suggest that you go and Google him and seek and listen to some of the things that he talks about in business. He's one of he started in business evaluation and helping larger businesses, I think all the way back in the 80s. One of the things that he says is that never wish that your life were easier. Wish that you were better. Work harder than you do on yourself than you do on your job. And I'm not sure if it was Jim Rohn that came up with it, but do you know the analogy for job?
Me.
Yeah, the acronym for job.
Just over broke.
Just over broke. Because most people leave their job and they start a business and then they basically just own their job. And quite often when that happens, they're working for, they don't actually end up working for themselves. They end up working for a landlord, or they start being owned by their team, or they start being owned by, whatever large expense that you have within the business. And that becomes your be all and end all. Some people leave their corporate cushy job to go and work for themselves to have more time with their family, and they end up having the exact opposite. No time for family, no time for anything.
And quite often job is, you get paid what the job is worth, not what you're worth.
Yeah, absolutely. So in understanding this, we start having a look at team again. And are you earning yourself the market related salary for what you do? And are you getting the return on investment for starting the business, for the effort that you put in, etc. We quite often refer to it as the Mrs. Roy. Okay. Cool. Nigel, should I give the journey over to you?
You can. It's a bit blurry on that screen, so I'm going to just look at it on my PowerPoint. Still blurry. Okay. Yeah, so the coaching journey, and I think the word is exponential. As you picked up on the 5 ways, the growth is exponential. And you can travel through this learning about the 5 ways and the 4 ways, which is all about leverage and mastery. And it seems like there's not a lot of change happening. But once you get into the leverage and you get the right team on board and you're doing all those things, you're going to have what you want. So through that process, we're going through what we call the entrepreneurial ladder. So, and there's actually another level to this, which is student. So you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, you start off as an employee, and then you move up to self-employed. So when you start a business, there's so many people say, "Oh, I'm a business owner. I own my own business." No, you're actually self-employed. It's just you. And you're probably, like Brendan said, not paying yourself what you were getting in your previous working for a bigger company. So you're actually self-employed. And you've got the worst boss in the world, yourself. So what happens next? You employ somebody. Now what are you doing? You're managing. So you've split it. You've got leverage, and you can see that the graph's starting to coincide. So you've got a bit of leverage, but now you're having to manage people, and you're having to learn new skills around people management. And then eventually, as we bring the team, you've employed one person, now you're employing a team. You apply all these things, and you start to actually become a business owner. Then, once the team is working perfectly, you can see that you become a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you, and you can determine that you're an owner, finally, an actual business owner, a term that is loosely used. And a term entrepreneur is also loosely used, in my opinion, because you can see here, we move from now the business is generating cash. What do we do with it? You can invest it. So you become an investor. And then now you've got passive income coming from your investments, you've got your business. Maybe you want to go and start another business. An entrepreneur generally will have 1 or 2 or 3 businesses of their own. So that's the whole thing in a nutshell, what we've been talking about over the last couple of days. But it's a staged process. It takes time. It takes hard work. It takes being coachable, doing homework, and having a clear vision. And those are all the key aspects of this coaching journey. Thanks, Brendan.
Yeah, thank you. So we've got a really nice question in from Menzi Duzungile. I hope I have that correctly. From Shoshanguvi asking, how do I join the other seminars that you have? And do you have any coming up that are in person?
In person?
Yeah.
12th of August, we've got a full day planning session where we're going to analyze all your dreams, as Brendan just said, GGLP. I've got my tongue twisted again. Dreams and goals, but the key thing is coming down to the 90-day plan. So in that day, we'll do a bit of talking at the beginning, but mostly it's a workshop where you sit down and work, and you're going to integrate and react with other business owners who will also be putting their plans together for the next 90 days. So that is probably a really good starting point. If you want to get more of a long-term thing, we've got the Action Coach, Action Club curriculum, which is over a 12-month period, and that covers off a lot of areas of business building in depth, with teaching sessions and then homework sessions.
Yeah, and that takes commitment. So the nice thing about that is that quite often the L in the DGLPA is full on, with assistance to create the new plan and understand the goals, understand the effective goals, build effective goals, have the learning, build a new plan, and create that action plan. And the 90-day planning seminar is going to do that as well. And here's the thing: we're not actually expecting anybody to pay for that. It's normally a 3,000 Rand seminar for the entire day. If you pay your catering, come and join us for free. Sorry, Nigel, I just thought I'd add that in.
Yeah, that's why I left.
Yeah. Great. So that's
no, I mean, I think we're just keen. Sorry, Brendan, just keen to get everybody back in a room together. We've had, pretty difficult time. Fortunately, our last planning session was in person, and then we had lockdown. So our timing has been good from that perspective. Yeah. But I think the energy and the learning and the interaction you get in an in-person meeting is much more powerful than on a Zoom session.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we get it. So just as a reward, another reward for joining us, send either Nigel Works for myself a message online, or send us an email, or even go to our websites and book your complimentary session with us. There's no fee involved. Nigel and I are both really, really keen to help businesses survive first and then thrive going forward. So thank you very much for joining us. For me, it's been a blast. I've really enjoyed absolutely every second of this, despite the technical challenges all the way up in the very beginning. Those were really interesting, but we've got it waxed now, I think, and we're up and ready to go.
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks for getting all the technical stuff sorted out.
My absolute pleasure. So thanks, Nigel. Hope you all have a great evening.